Alright guys, so I was having a bit of an issue with my Mixamo rigs always grabbing weird parts of my armor. So I figured I'd do a quick tutorial on how I would go about fixing this, since some of you might run into the same sorts of issues if you have flowing clothing or capes, weird shaped objects attached to your characters, all the things that we like to do as character designers, right? Maya doesn't like that. Mixamo obviously doesn't like that either, right? It just breaks the world of 3D a little bit, and that's what we're here to do, right? Is to tame it and break Maya down, make it submit to you, right? So since I'm having issues with this, I have two options here. One, I could keep running this particular FBX file through Mixamo and change up the um, the different sort of placement objects that it gives you for the wrists, for the elbows, and for the knees, and the chin, right? And I have had some luck with this where, just adjusting, say, like the groin from the middle to like the bottom seems to have a good effect. Um, but for me, I think it's a largely because I have these appendages, right, these axes sticking out different places, that it's struggling with that. So I don't necessarily have to keep hitting my head against the wall if this system isn't really working out. Um, Instead, what I might want to do, right, is just separate those particular pieces from the model, and then when I pull my Mixamo rig and skin back, right, into Maya, reattach these objects. And now that I think about it, you could even do that in the same scene. We don't even have to close anything down, right? So first step is to select each of these objects, right? I just use the method of shift and period to grow selection, right? So that means any object that I select a part of, right, and I hit shift and period, right, it slowly grows that selection. So I did that to select all of these different pieces that I had as separate pieces to the model. I don't necessarily have to worry about cloth elements that are hanging close to the body. Those are better to leave on because it's better if there is a little bit of stretch in there. The shoulder pads could go either way, really. It might help the Mixamo algorithm to remove the shoulder pads. So when it comes down to it, maybe I could have just gone with my original um, nude Viking with no or character without any armor, right, and then done this from the beginning, right, to just rig the armor as a separate piece. And I do still have my FBX files. In fact, since they are FBX, I can pull this into this scene. All right, so I have just the armor as an FBX file. Maybe it's not, maybe that's not it, or it didn't come in properly. But then I also have just the Viking as a file, so like either way would be an option. I feel like the selection method though is going to be fine. So what I would do from here, right, as long as I'm happy with these different pieces being selected, I would choose the separate icon up here, or I believe it's under mesh separate. Right, so that will pull those components or those objects off of the main mesh. Then I can export just what's left, right? Export selection. Or use the game exporter, which I've been using to good effect. All right, there's no skinning and no blend shapes on this model. It has smoothing groups because I've used mesh display soften edge. And then I need to reduce the FBX year just because of Mixamo, right? Mixamo's algorithm just needs a particular year. So hard armor and no clips, no animation. Embed media I'll leave on just in case, because I do have UVs on this model, right? So generally we want to make sure that those UVs are carried over as the file is exported, right, and transported to different applications. So we go back to our folders here. Grab the latest FBX with only part of the armor on it. I'll go ahead and save this scene since it is working nicely. Right, and then I could even just delete this existing mesh because it is all going to come back in here, right? It's getting ahead of the game a little bit, but once we were waiting, you know, it's always good to have something to do while you wait. Now I do need to test whether the bottom of the beard is the best place for the chin or somewhere higher up, just because he has such weird neck formation here, right? Then wrists, elbows, knees, all these are a lot easier to spot without the armor pieces on there, right? So we click rig and see what kind of result we get. Now, the reason why we can do this, why we can add armor on top, right, is when paint skin is applied, right, it's going to be applied per vertex, and say we might have, you know, let's see, 1786 vertices just in this part scene. So I probably have 3 times, you know, I probably have 6,000 vertices. Each of those vertices are assigned a bone weight for 4 different bones, right, up to 4. So with all that information, right, we need to be careful about not messing with those vertice numbers. The way to do that is if we add something after the fact just on top of the model, then again it just adds that on top of the vertices stack, right, or to the bottom rather. So it would be, okay, this is 6,000 vertices for the rest of the body that I just deleted, right? Pretty good estimate, 6,700 vertices, right? The remaining 1,700 vertices just go on that Excel table, you know, after the fact, right? So all of those will be weighted to nothing, or just weighted to the root bone sometimes when you first bind them to the skin. And then painting them, right, again, it'll just weight the bones based on what you tell it to weight. And I can see here that I am getting a nicer result, right, by having removed those armor pieces. Okay, I'm happy with that. So download the model again. I use original pose, right? I don't want it to like stretch out my shoulders and underarms until I fix the skin. FBX binary, if I'm taking it into Maya, right? FBX Unity, if that's going to be your one to import into Mixamo, I think. But if we use you know, Maya as an intermediary, it's kind of the same tool, right? The same plugin. It's going to convert it into something that Unity understands. Okay, so we got the new Viking. Give it a name. All right, so now I've got that FBX. Drag it into here. It should come in with the skeleton and those pieces of armor that I removed. These pieces are still separate. Everything underneath is skinned onto the skeleton underneath, right? So now it's just combining these remaining pieces onto the skeleton. We might need to make sacrifices just to get things into Unity with the least amount of paint, right? So other pieces need to be connected. Can grab here. Oof, Maya is really worth testing things out, right? It's just Maya. It's going to be a bit slow to allow you to do these things. Okay, so apply it to the hierarchy. Out to the selection tool, and there you see it's done. A little bit of weighting to the shoulder, but mostly to the arm bone, which is good. So let's just keep working our way. Remember, if you get that weird selection, right, just go back to the regular old select tool. Our shortcut is Q. Select the piece, select one of the bones, tell it to map to the bone, just test it out to be sure. Select the piece, shift select the bone, hit apply, select to get out, and then test it. So we've got a couple more pieces here, the arm piece. Skin. Yep. That's good. Oh, I should have closed it. Come on, little tool. Just a couple more. Oh, I need to stop closing my tools. I could just use G, which is repeat last action, but when we're doing something risky, it's better to just take it at Maya pace, you know. Click everything nice and slow, make sure that Maya's happy, and then hopefully we get rewarded with a working rig, right? Cool. All right, so now they're part of the skin. The next trick is to go through the hassle of, oh, that's interesting, they're still separate objects. Let's see, maybe it's worth doing a game export to see how Unity understands it. You might even want to try a Sense Unity option here, just because sometimes they'll have tested it right with a Unity thing, and they'll have made sure that they're I want to make sure I have skins checked. Make sure they'll test some of these to make sure that the data is going across properly, right? So that when the say on my model I had the weird foot issue where my foot was at like a 90-degree angle with the Mixamo animation. So I want to make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen, right? Or to at least catch it early on. 6, okay, and then my assets is up there. Where's my Unity? Alright, so always test stuff in Unity in the early days, you know, as early as possible, just in case you're taking a risk right? You want to be able to backtrack earlier rather than get hit by it when it's too late. Okay, so I already exported into my assets folder. Oh, no, I didn't export it yet. Did I just set it up to export? Yes. Okay, I just need the assets folder path. That's what I was looking for. And then I'll put it right into his character folder. Maybe give myself more clues as to what's going on in this file, but anyway, let's just check all these parts. I should be able to use a newer version of FBX if I'm going into Unity. I've got skins checked. I needed to check animation to get skins to work. And alright, fingers crossed. Export is complete. Polyasic skinned. Came with a bunch of cameras, it looks like. 2 perspective cameras. Unpack prefab. Get rid of these cameras. Let's test out the skin. Skin is working. Looks like some extra bits came in here. Interesting. Or if I delete these, it's gonna be happy. Or if I'm gonna make it mad. Alright. So timeline selected. Question is, will I be able to replace the old Viking, right, or the current Viking with the new model and have 0 repercussions, right, to be able to have the textures, right, assigned to him correctly. If I can get his skin. Looks like I just have to drag it onto these individual parts. This is another reason why I drill you guys on textures, right, and try to keep everything together as one object. It's just because it's a little annoying when it's one character. If you've got 15 characters and you need to drag the material onto them 10 times each, you know, it's you're gonna be sitting there for a half an hour of your life that you're never gonna get back, right? Alright, so he is feature complete over here. I did not tell him to become a, what do you call it? A humanoid yet. So let's see if it will trickle down into the scene. Looks like maybe not. So again, alright, so let's try the trick. Let's put the timeline docket over here so we can see all of our assets at the same time. And then if we swap out Mr. Viking here, maybe he has to be in the scene already. camera back as well though, right? Like, let's see, so if we can get it to maybe the same point here where he reaches back and it lines just right. It's about here. I could just copy the object over or move the object from being underneath this guy's right arm to being parented to the other guy's right arm, and that way I have I'll have to unpack this prefab. That way I don't have to reposition the axe, right? It's like pick your poison. I might not even want to worry about it just yet, just because I still plan on updating this particular model, right? But let's go ahead and Mythbuster confirmed that you can add meshes to your rig after the fact, and they will import correctly into Unity, and it will also allow you to fix things like fingers. Like in my case, I didn't even have enough fingers on my character in the bones, and continuously, you know, improve the character in certain ways. Now, I would still advise against making any mesh changes down in the stack, right? You don't want to be like adding another cut on the chest or on the arm or something at this stage. That would be super bad luck, I think. Anything that's already attached to the mesh, right, has a vertex number attached to it. And I think it's really risky adding to the number of vertices on a particular mesh piece, right? It's going to interfere with that that component. So best of luck, guys. Hopefully you didn't have these problems, right? But in any case, there are solutions, right? Sometimes it's not the first one that you think of, right? Like I was going for the combine tool when really it was a matter of using the interactive bind skin options, right? Which gave me more control. My next job, I won't put you through the pain of watching, will be to go to the component editor and to check the smooth skins tab here, grab the vertices on these objects that I've added, like this axe head, right? And then affix that or hammer these vertices in, say, just the right shoulder, right? All the way up to 1.0 for all of them, right? Or to type it in here, it is, oh, it has to be at the bottom or the top, maybe. Oh, okay, so because there's an off thing there, I can't actually do it that way. I just have to select all the numbers first. Potentially also, you know, zeroing out some of the other ones that are interfering. Shouldn't be closing my my editors like this, but so be it. And then you can see now it is 100% weighted to that shoulder bone, right? And that's when I have to start worrying about these things that are only 50% weighted one side or the other, right? But the component editor does let you quickly, you know, hammer a whole lot of vertices all the way up to 100% or to 0% very quickly. So, cheers, guys. It's a little more of a deeper dive into the skinning that I was hoping to do, but you know, you find out new things each time that you add complexity. So, best of luck. Save your work often. Make backups on Google Drive if you fear for your laptop's life, and I'll see you guys soon.